Hello there. Welcome back to Just with Hetty. If you are new here, like, subscribe, and share. Now, today we are going to get to know me a little bit. We're going to talk about how I met my husband. Okay. So, here's a little backstory. My husband was in town, he was in Ghana at the time, and then he went to the bank for a transaction and he was hungry at a point. And so he decided to go get himself something to eat. He stepped out, looked around, and then he found a cafe. And so he stepped in there, and then the lady or the owner of the place at the time um, was so nice to him. So he asked for a pastry and some drink to go with it. After a few conversations here and there, the lady invited him to church. Now, this is the same church that I attend, okay? And so here's the case where I was done with the world. Okay? I've been there, done that, and I was done cuz I just felt empty. I felt tired all the time. I felt like I had no purpose. So, since I've been in church, I was like, let me just go back to God. Like the prodigal son, let me go back to my dad. And so here I am, dropping everything that I thought was good for me in the world and then going back to church. And then I gave God a 2 year ultimatum. The world is crazy. So nothing is happening over there. So if I'm coming to God, I came with a full on expectation. If I come to God and nothing happens after that 2 year ultimatum, I was done. Like I was just done. And that was the conversation I had with God. So I was in church singing, serving in any capacity that I could. Um, help my mom in the store, going about my business, day to day activity, just strictly church business, God stuff. I didn't have any boyfriends here and there. I've had some in the past, but I was like, it was a clean slate for me, if you get what I'm trying to say. And then here I was in church nearing the 2 year mark that I had given to God. I had about 3 months for that 2 year mark to come into completion. And I'm like, what is happening? I wanted to get married, like start my family. 25, no show. 26, no show. 27, you know, like what's happening? I was at the 27th mark, nothing is happening. So I was tired. And then one day there was a prophet that came to church and he called me and he gave me a prophecy and he said, I see marriage, the grace of marriage over your head. Like you, it looks like I see that like you are in your husband's home. But the person I'm seeing is not somebody that is with you or someone with you here in Ghana, you know. I see the person from outside, and specifically he mentioned America. So I was like, America. I knew I was dating someone back then, but he wasn't in America, but he worked in America. Like he goes and comes, stuff like that. But I wasn't seeing any future with this guy because, I mean, if you know, you know. So yeah. And at this point in my life, I was no longer with that individual. So I had decided to go with the Lord, remember? So clean slates and everything, he wasn't in the picture. And then he said that I was standing there thinking to myself, what is going to happen? Like, there's no person. Yo, I even got, like I said, I've given God like 3 months to come, like 2 years, sorry. And it was left with like 3 months to come through, or I'm going back. So I was at a point where I was just done. And so, where from this prophecy again? Like, who, where, when? The math wasn't mathing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the math wasn't mathing for me. So, I was just standing there thinking aloud, like I was just doing all these calculations in my head. But you know how when the angel um, told Sarah that she was going to be a mother and she laughed? I found myself in that same situation where I felt like, nah, man, Prophet, you sure? Because 3 months, like for me, I was thinking I have just 3 months. So, like, make it make sense. Fast forward. Remember when I told you my husband was in a bank and, he wanted food and the lady invited him to church? So this lady and I call her like my mother. So this auntie also attended the same church. She asked her driver to go pick my husband, my current husband, my now husband. I don't have any old husband, so yeah, my now husband to come to church. So the driver went, picked him up, brought him to church, and then I was on stage singing, minding my own business. And then, according to the driver, he said my husband asked him, um, "Who is that lady singing up there?" And then he said, "Oh, that's mommy's daughter." Like I said, she's a mom, like a mom to me. So that's how I call her. And so my husband was like, I don't think I can get this one. She may be like out of my reach or something. And the driver said, no, actually, she's really down to earth if you get to know her. Why don't you just try and get to know her? The driver? That was the first person who gave me a good recommendation. We ought to be good to people, okay? We ought to be good to people because he was my person. Like, I was good to him. So that's just beside the point. But that was what happened. I didn't know what was going on. And so fast forward, my mom, I think he tells the lady that invited him to church. She's like, "Oh yeah, let me find out if she's single or something." And then this auntie of mine called my mom and asked if I was going out with somebody. And my mom said, "Not that I know of, but let me find out." So, I mean, she's not brought anybody to me because if you know African mothers, yeah, you've not brought anybody, nobody knows you. So if you want the girl, you got to go introduce yourself. So here's the case. My mom was like, "Nope, I don't know anybody. I don't think she's going out, but hey, let me find out." She came to me, asked me, and I'm like, "No, I'm not going out. I don't have anybody in my life at this moment." So just then, remember the prophecy? It just came flooding like that. It just started unrolling like that. And the Holy Spirit just reminded me of the prophecy that came before this connection that is about to happen. And then I said, "Okay, mom, have you seen the person you're talking about?" And she said she met someone in the lady's store, but she's not sure if it's the same person. She described the person and all that. And here I was, I'm like, you see, 6'5", 6 feet, because I'm 5'9", so I'm aiming 6 feet minimum. I had my whole specification and everything. But girls, people, God provides your needs, not your wants. He provides your what? Your needs, not your wants. Because mind you, the ones that I want, it's not been going the way I want them to go. So this time, God is like, take several seats back and let me do me. And it took me a while to understand that, but so I got introduced. I think the lady went back. My auntie went back, told my current husband, no, she's single, and my auntie's like, okay, we can hook you guys up, and so that happened. He came the first time we met. He came to my I was in my mom's store, and then he came to the store, and someone was buying something. I was trying to reach to the back. I was trying to get his stuff, and the thing was right in front of him, but I was reaching all the way to the back because your girl was ready to get hooked. So I try to reach all the way to the back so the guy can see all that he's got to work with. You know what I'm saying, girls? So I was doing my whole thing. I was just trying to be extra. Meanwhile, God has already planned everything for me. But I was just trying to be extra. And remember, I was still like in this new born again phase. So I didn't know much. So I So fast forward, um, he liked what he saw. He enjoyed our conversation. Um, we exchanged numbers, and then my mom dropped me. He later my mom dropped me one time when I called him and asked, like he called me and asked me where I was, and I said I was at my cousin's engagement ceremony, and then he's like, okay, when you're done, can you meet me so and so place? And my mom dropped me, and later on in our marriage, she was like, one of the things that stood out for him was the fact that a girl of my age and my mom came to drop me to come and see a guy speaks very highly of me. It's like bars. Bars. I didn't know that, but bars, that was a good point for me. But I didn't even know God was working overtime for your girl. So here I was, all all excited because I liked the way the whole thing was going. Because he would come to me, we would talk, and I would see him off to the junction where he's supposed to go pick a cab. And then he would see me back to the house, and I would see him off back to where he's supposed to go pick a cab. And then it just kept going and coming. We just kept doing that, like we could do that like 10 times. And at a point, we'll just sit somewhere, find somewhere at the junction, and then just sit and talk some more. And mind you, like I said earlier, I was looking for 6 feet, this that. My husband is 5'7". I had this whole specification in my mind. He, on the other hand, also had a whole specification in his mind. But that wasn't what God gave him. God also provided his needs, not his wants. So this is a situation of two people that wanted two separate things, and God said, "Hold my bottle. Nah, man, this is not what you guys need. This trend or this style of relationships or people that have been coming into your life has not been beneficial to you. Why are you still holding on to something that doesn't work?" Like I hear this statement that says doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result is equated into madness. So why would you be doing the same thing and it's not working and you keep doing the same thing? And that was me and that was him. But this time, favor, grace located us. God connected us. So fast forward, he met my pastor. He wanted to marry me immediately. We met in September. And mind you, I said 3 months till the year would end. It was in September when we met. He wanted to marry me immediately. My pastor said, no, we had to go through counseling and all of that. And that was a really good counsel that we had to go through counseling. We went through counseling. By the end of that year, like I had something that I was working with. So at this point, there was no going back. I was hooked to Jesus. I was stuck. Like I wasn't going back. It was forward ever, backwards never for me at this point. And so I and him went through counseling, 6 months counseling, and then we met in September. By April we were married, and then by the I think April, by November I was preparing to come meet him in the US. And that, my people, when it was time for me to move to the US, ugh, it was a whole nother story battle. Okay? In the next or coming series, we're going to talk about how I got to the US, childbearing, waiting on God, faith, new generative faith that I got from waiting, the lessons learned from the waiting period. I think I need to write a book. It's meeting an angel in the US and a whole lot of stuff that will be unfolding in the coming series of my personal um relationship with God. Okay. This is where we're going to end today's episode. Like, subscribe, and share. Thank you, and see you on another episode